I'm Shabir. I'm not sure if you guys have seen me. And then, and everybody knows Nidal. And there's Kaman as well.
Hi guys.
I'm just gonna admit everyone. So I'm gonna record this meeting so that it's hard to get approval from everyone, but we can record the meeting so that people who are not here, they can also see the recording as well. So if everybody's okay with that, so I've started the recording. So Nidal is also recording the meeting locally as well. So having said that, let's jump right into it. Nidal, you want to go through the login screen and then stuff, and then maybe I can show them the launch sessions if needed.
Yeah. Oops, sorry, just adjusting volume on my end. All right, so of course, obviously, this is the new login screen. You guys will start seeing it soon once we've switched over completely to version 4. But clicking sign in brings you to the dashboard, the new dashboard that we have for the new interface. And in this this dashboard, you have access essentially to a bunch of licensing options here, including latest games, the editor's picks, and what's trending. So if you need to refer to those, you can, and from here you can license games as well. As this is a test account, there is limited licensing, so can't show you that directly.
So, yeah.
But
one of the things I would like to add is one of the feedbacks we always get is, they have to go to the content store right now and, license the games. There's no easy way for them to like quickly look like what are the newest games when they're logged in, things like that. So that's why, we use this dashboard space because that's the space that most of the people are always, coming in initially. And then if there are any current promotions and things like that, they would see that as well. So that way the operators are aware like what are the games that are currently on promotion. So it's a much more easier way to license, get all the information about all the latest games, things like that.
Yep. So like last week, Monster Showdown showed up as having a promotion, and then as of last week or as of this week, it no longer was showing up there. But this will highlight those things. So the first thing you're presented from this dashboard button, which that's one of the changes. It's no longer saying dashboard, but it will be the first page there. It will show you the the current games that you can license, or not current games, but games you can license directly. And then the next thing that's changed, of course, is the arcade page, going down in order here. So this, what you're looking at, is the standard view that I'm sure some of you already use. And then to make it simpler, we have a timeline view switch up here. So for those of you that are using the timeline view, you can click on that and that will show you the timeline. It looks like I have an active session there. Let's end that.
So here,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So here, one of the big changes we did was to the regular view or the station view. So for now, I'm just gonna share. Is it okay if I share my screen so that way I can show the game start and stuff like that? So this is one of the cool changes that we made. So as you can see, all the stations nicely lined up. You can see all the experiences in a much more intuitive manner. If you scroll down, you can see all today's sessions. If there's an active session, you can see it easily. Upcoming sessions, unpaid. So we are going to answer all the questions in a bit. So for now, I'm just going to go through these. So here also one of the cool ways is, if somebody had paid, it's going to highlight entirely on green. If it's not paid, it easily is gray. So, if somebody, if you want to see how that looks, if I just click on the session here, and if I start if somebody had paid and I pay this, it shows in green. So it's easy for you to also understand as an operator, like, this reservation has been paid. But one of the main things is the actual station itself. So suppose somebody comes in and I'm running a session. I can easily, now we also have, if you're running multiple accounts or multiple stations in one session, before you could only do one account for the whole session. So if there were like multiple players, you would not be able to add individual accounts. So now we've done that. So that way each player can have his own account. That way game saving functions and all that. So that way it's for that player alone, not for the entire session. So if somebody is now wants to play a game, so we can easily see it's much better design. You can see all that cache options, all the options that are available. You can even add an account here, but I'm just going to start a session. So now the cool thing is you can actually see the game on the background of the station, which is a very cool addition. So that way you know this on this station, this game is being played, and then the timer is running, and then the other changes that were already there. But the cool thing is, and then if I change the game here, you can see that this game stops, and then you can see the affected the manners background image. So that way you can immediately notice what are the games that are running on each session, each station. So it's a much intuitive way to see what are the games that are running. This also applies to the timeline view as well. So if I click on the timeline view, you can see that this is running, and you can see everything. It's a much more easier way to understand the designs. So I shall let Nidal take over my screen. I'm just gonna stop presenting, and if I stop the game, I can stop it, or I can even stop the session. Those are like functions that were already there. And now you can see the cleaning.
Oops. I think I took over accidentally.
It's all good.
All right.
So I want us to show them the whole book session, the button.
Yep. So one thing you'll notice is that on this interface, the book session button isn't included in here. It is actually available here. And so if you want to book, it is available from any of the screens that you have available. And then now the book session will be a full screen versus a windowed option. But you can always escape out of this or backspace out of this to book it. But from here, it's relatively similar to the other interface, choosing the experience type, choosing the duration, choosing the number of stations, time, date, that sort of thing, entering customer information, all that. And then if you were to schedule that, that will create that upcoming booking. This is the summary of that booking here, where you can choose which stations you want to change, enter customers' information, choose that player account again here, selecting the game that you might want to start. And then once you've done that, you can click on the Use Now, and that will start that session as per normal. And this using it in the, seeing it in the standard view. If we go into the timeline view, that will show the session happening here in stations 1 and in this case Quest. And you can see any upcoming sessions coming up. You can see previous, next day, etc. So this is all, again, somewhat similar in terms of the functionality. It's just the visual appeal to it. Right-clicking on a session will bring up the options here of giving of changing games, giving opponents time, extending, moving the station, same as it was in the interface before. You can also, I don't think there's anything else necessary change except in the top right now, we've got the arcade options, which were hidden under a 3-dot menu here. So now it's a little bit more visible in terms of some of the things that you can access from here, as well as selling goods, which is, again, much more front and center versus trying to be hidden under a menu below that. In the non-timeline view, same things, same buttons up here, same thing there. They're all, yes.
Yeah, so some of the key things is, you don't have to find the waiver, go back to the dashboard again, so we made it a little bit more intuitive. So you could just click on arcade options and go to waiver. And another thing is, as Nidal said, that book session, on any screen, even if you're on the admin screen, in the reservation screen or any other screen you're there, you could quickly book a session, because if somebody's calling you, you want to book a session, you don't have to go back to the arcade and book a session. So that's something that we want to do. And also on the left menu at the bottom, you can see more options. So you can see like initially before all the updates were on a dashboard, so it did not look pretty. But now the dashboard has been taken over by all the licensing and games. So if you just click on that down arrow, you can see all the software updates. So there are two updates there. Um, so it's pretty easy. You can also see your profile and all that stuff. So it's a much more intuitive, man.
Yep. So there is an easy way to, for example, switch arcades down here. So if you have multiple arcades, clicking this will allow you to select which arcade. I've only got the one arcade assigned to this account, and that's one. You can also, and just as a side note, probably should have started with this, is under where it says edit profile. This is for those of you that want to try the version 4 beta, can switch from the version 3, which is likely what everybody's on, to the version 4 beta. Actually, in this particular screen, let me just go ahead and switch that and refresh the screen. So right now I'm in the version 3 version. If I click on this icon up here, that'll bring up this same setting here, and I can change to the version 4. Click on the go ahead and refresh, and that will put me into the version 4. So for those of you that want to go through and test the beta out, you can certainly do that. We've been doing it for a little while now, and found most of the things that might be of issue, but feel free to switch over and play around. So you can do that back and forth. You're not required to stick to any specific version at this point. And so here you can see the session is running. You can see the sort of timer going here, or the session time. You can see that it's an active session. I don't have anything upcoming. This one, these were unpaid, so those show up. And again, completed sessions is the one I was testing earlier from there. There are also this button right here, this little slider button. This will allow you to do some local changes to the local instance here, including asking admin settings, doing this other stuff here, which you can certainly play around with once you're in there. Not major changes again from the previous version in this particular case. Reservations. So those reservations, again, a visual change in terms of the overall look of the view. You can narrow down by date as well as how many days that you want to do. So if I want to go back to, let's say, all the way back to January last year, and then I will look at the month, I can see the reservations for that month all upcoming, and it'll show if they're paid, it'll show customer information. If I click on it, that'll bring up that full view there, which will show what games have played, etc. So other than visuals, the actual underlying performance hasn't changed. It's just that it is a little bit more visually appealing to look at, and will allow you to see things better. Customers, again, it's much more front and center in terms of the customer information, which details in terms of what you might have, whether they have a waiver or not, if you need to add any, if there's a balance, or if they need to add anything, if you need to edit the customer. In this case, we have a 3-dot menu that'll bring up the managing the customer pop-up, which also comes up if you click on the customer, and allows you to go through and edit the customer, view their sessions, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One of the main things here in the interface design is we want to put all the information that is relevant and pertinent right in front and center. So before, if you had checked the older interface, you can see every time you want to find something, you have to click on the 3 dots or things like that. But right now, from just an overview, you can see the customer's name, whether he has signed any waiver, is there any membership there, and if he has any balance. So if you scroll down, if there are any balances, it shows you if there's a balance, if a waiver has been signed. So it's pretty easy. So that's one of the main things, because you don't want the operator wasting time trying to find out the details, because that was one of the feedbacks that we got. So the customers, the reservation screen, even your arcade page, if you scroll down, you could see all the reservations that were made, upcoming, and all that in a tab. So it's much more easier to navigate. The same thing goes with the administration as well. So if you click on the administration, you can see now, instead of opening each and every tab, under each and every category, you can see what it contains. So it's pretty easy for a operator to understand. Initially, under arcade setup, we had a VR stations, but now we've changed that to devices, because it's more appropriate, because you can see what are the devices that are connected with SynthesisVR, whether be it an Android device or like PC VR headsets or virtual station. So we just calling them VR stations did not make sense anymore. So that's why we changed it to devices. And also the billing tab has been improved, so that way now you can find all your game subscriptions as well as your game licensing as well as subscription all under one billing tab. You don't have to go back and forth, things like that. So that's why we made everything a little bit more easier to understand, and everything you can see it in one place.
Yep.
So
yeah, so
yeah.
in terms of the slight changes here, if you're going to the games and categories section here, you still have your game section, the categories, and the content store for licensing, but missing from here is now the billing, which is moved over to the administration and now is under billing, so that all of your information for billing is found in here, including what the games you might have licensed, and being able to mark them for cancellation from here, or see a running total of what you owe for this coming month. In addition, if there's any software billing, that will be here. And if there's any add-on stuff, or if you want to add rather stuff, then you can add them from this this last button here. So if you need to add anything, then they go from here. So all of your information for that is here. And subscriptions would essentially show up in this section here under software. And then games would be your licensing, and if you need to add anything from here. Other than that, it's the customization has been, or the view of the admin has been cleaned up, allowing you to access things a little bit more directly versus trying to dig in tabs. And if you prefer a much simpler interface, we still have our basic section, which allows for a little bit less in terms of stuff in front of you, but still gives you the important access to operation settings, games, billing, and your devices, as well as branding and voice prompts, which is the most often accessed feature in the basic setup. And then advanced, of course, gives you the full gamut from there, which is a slight mix between our pro and our standard subscriptions. If you have a standard subscription, some of these things will not be visible to you. Obviously the pro part will not be. And then yes,
shall I share my screen for the devices, I mean for the reports? Because
yeah, if you want, I can see if I have anything, because I can. When you go into the financials, you do have, when you go into reports, the first one is financials, which you can filter on either last 6 months, last month, this month, or pick a date range. So if I were to do last 6 months, you can see I've got some usage there. If I go to usage, I've got a little bit more of a interesting interface there. And if I want to look any deeper, I can scroll down and see usage of particular games there, which will also give me more details if I click on the details. And then if I go to...
So let me elaborate on that
a
bit more, because share now. So as you can see here, we made the reports because that is something initially, there was a lot of details with the previous SynthesisVR function, but not everything was intuitive, or maybe it was a little bit hard to understand. So what we made is created a much better design and easier to understand way. So that way now you can now see like sales by the week. You can also see like different sales by operator. So which operator had sales based on a certain time period. You can also see one of the biggest things people want to find out was also like what are the bookings that we're getting online or regular walk-ins. So that's a big thing, the operators wanted. So here you can see that as well. And then also different payment methods, like if there's cash or credit cards, what type of payment methods people are using to pay. So this is something that will give a good insight on, and also especially the online booking versus walk-ins, a way, it gives the operators a way where they can maybe put more money into the marketing of the website, things like that. So that's something that we've done a lot. But you still have all the other details as well, even though we've ironed out and made it visually appealing for certain criteria here, but you still have all the other details that were previously available. The same applies for the usage as well, because one of the feedbacks that we got was they want to know more about what are the games that are being used, what are the most popular games, what kind of experiences are most popular. So here it easily highlights on a bar graph like what are the games that have been more popular in the last month, what were the games that were most popular, and which experience was used. So here it's just a test arcades, that way it's always showing test and common, but if there are more experiences, you can see that. If there are different types of games, then you can see like which games have been performing. And but you still get all the other details as well. So suppose if you go to VR, if you click on it, it shows you in an easy way which stations had used the most amount of usage for this particular game. So that way you're also aware like which stations are getting more popular, which stations are using more, things like that. So everything is, all the previous details are still available, but in a much more visually pleasing manner. You can still download. And before you could see all this in one thing. So right now we've like separated it so that way it doesn't get too cluttered. But if you still want to see like, what are the in sessions, outside session, it's still available to you. Yeah, so that's just an addition. The same thing, the occupancy hasn't changed much because it already previously gave all the information that you need, so we haven't done much changes to that. But the main thing now is financial reports and usage. You can easily see like everything gets broken down, so it is much more easy for the operator to understand. I'm gonna stop presenting, and yeah, it's up to you.
Great. Do you still see my screen? So other than that, that is probably the biggest differences. There's some other minor differences, like in terms of the back end stuff. For example, we'll be able to now start implementing some of the changes we'll be making in 2023, which this particular interface will allow much better integration into versus the version 3. So as we start introducing new features.
Can you make it full screen?
I can. I don't know how to. Let me see if I can. Oh, there it is. Sorry. It said I was still presenting. So I wasn't really talking anything specifically about this, but yeah, the interface will allow for some of the new changes that we'll have coming up in 2023 and make it less cumbersome in terms of the transition between the old interface and the new changes. Some of the things that we might have also, and I don't know that I can demonstrate it in here, but one thing that we've had to do in terms of game updates, is they have to be triggered from the access point. But now you can trigger them from here, where if you see a game update, you'd be able to trigger it directly from here versus doing it from the. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Cohen might have to correct me on this. I don't think you can trigger updates for any Android-based games. It's only PC-based games.
Not at the moment, but soon we are going to do that for people and HTC.
Right. So right now it's just going to be if, for example, if ignore Beat Saber, that's mine. But if you had an update for a game, and actually I should clarify, these are games delivered through Steam I have installed on here. But if you have a game that is delivered through Synthesis, those are the ones that we would be updating. So if, for example, Arizona Sunshine, or if we distributed Beat Saber, if that was something that had an update, then that would be, if it was on Steam, then it wouldn't be updated from there.
Yeah.
So just
one of the things I would like to also add is on the administration. As you can see, there's a huge update on the your game screen and the actual game itself, like the way the games are being presented. As you can see now, right now it's much more cleaner. You can see all the games. You can see what are the stations that have been installed. It wasn't like this before. You can also like this was already there, but now it's much more cleaner design. You can see all the games. Same thing applies for the categories and also for the content store as well, where you would license. You can see all the categories available. You can easily search for a game here. And if you want to license a game from here itself, you can just click on it and license the game from here itself. So and you can also, if it's already licensed, you can easily install it from this pop-up screen. You don't have to go to another screen. So everything has been made much more visually appealing. You can see that there's a big difference from how it used to look. So even all your installed games, you can easily see everything here. You can even search for the game. So if you want to Angry Birds, you can easily search. So the game images, everything has been coming. So
yep.
And yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to answer a couple questions that have popped up. So Sheree is asking, will it update all the stations at one time in terms of the games? That is not the case yet. Unfortunately, just to keep bandwidth low, it still will only update one station at a time, as it has been. There is there is a beta version in the access point that allows you to do a local cache versus having everything download from an outside source, outside server.
You
So
can
if you want to try
still
that,
select all the stations and it will update, but it will just still do one by one.
right? And then adding filter for all content. I'm assuming you mean in the content store. Yes, it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to be able to do that.
If you just clear all the categories, then
Yep.
nothing will be found. And then if you go to horror, then you can see all the horror categories. So you can easily do one by one if you want to. You can just clear all that. And also here you can have like whether it's a room scale game or free roam games, all those things are there. We made it easier for you guys. So
Okay, and that was a question by Alex, from Alex. And Garfield is asking about installing games. So
uninstalling games.
Yep. So if you want to uninstall games, that is going to be from the billing section. So there's actually two different things. If it's a game that is delivered through Steam, currently we don't have a method of uninstalling that directly, although that is, I think, on the roadmap. But if you have a game delivered through Synthesis, if you go to the billing section, let me share my screen here. I don't think it'll necessarily work, but we're going to try it. Oops. So if you go to the billing section and then go to games, and I'm going to show the unused, you should see a mark for cancellation. Those are, again, games delivered through Synthesis. So if we wanted to cancel a specific game delivered through Synthesis, this would be the way to do that. And you'd click on that, and you can either do instant removal or it'll end up canceling at the end of the month. Yep. So okay, Alex has already been answered, I think, about the filter again. And that is question. Any other questions while we are answering questions? Feel free to type them in.
What do you guys think? What's the
I believe there's a way to do that through this is Adele. Adele has just a suggestion. It would be able to override the ability to start a session over an existing appointment. I mean, there's a couple ways of doing it. One is just to literally change the one appointment by dragging it in the timeline view or rescheduling it. And from there, you can just start a session at that point. There is an option I'm just going to double check that in the operation settings. And let's say the add, oops, we want to edit.
You can still you can create a session for a different time and then just say start now.
That's another option as well. Yeah.
You can do that. So if that's the easiest way, just start a session for a different time and just start it now. So that would override the current session. In terms of Sherry's question, the issue is Omni is a closed system, so you can definitely add them like a virtual station, but we won't still be able to launch games on Omnis, right?
No, that's unfortunately is not possible.
Yeah, because Omnis, they have a closed system. They don't let any other.
Yeah, we have been trying to work with Virtuix for a couple of years, but unfortunately, it's not an option.
To reply to Modal VR's question, just to clarify, can you install Steam games on the dashboard? You cannot. You can only get keys. About 2 years ago, we were able to do that, and then there was a change in Steam VR where it didn't allow us to inject the keys, and so we weren't able to actually license games directly. It still needs to be done manually. We are trying to work on a way to uninstall them because that doesn't require any direct input, but again, that's not something we have immediately coming up. Be able to accommodate Omnis, okay. You can use it, Sheree, just to answer that second question about the Omnis. Use it to book Omnis, not send the games. The only way to do that is to set up either a virtual station or to install Synthesis on those stations and subscribe those stations. That's the only way you can use it to book something. You have to have either a virtual station or subscribe that station to a subscription.
We can set up a time, Sherry.
Yep.
So just email us and we can tell you how to do that. what do you guys think of the whole interface? Any feedback?
And just as a reminder, you can switch to that. And I'm just going to again show you how to switch. So I'm going to go back to the version 3 interface. So right now I'm on version 3. And if you wanted to test out the new interface, either you can click on here, which will bring up this pop-up menu, or if you click on this little icon here and click on Profile, that will show the same thing. Switch over to the version 4 beta, click on Go Ahead, and then refresh your screen. If a refresh doesn't work for some reason, you can just log out and log back in and it should be fine, but refresh should be sufficient for that. And now you can see the version 4 interface, and feel free to dig into it. And if you have any questions at that point or something comes up that you don't understand, feel free to reach out. We'll start creating knowledge-based articles and videos based on the new interface soon, so you can take a look at those as well as you continue to explore.
The new access point, we are working on it. Common will, as always, send a new update. So we are working on it, but it's gonna be much more cleaner, like this whole, and it's gonna be with the same design language. So you guys are gonna love it. So once we are done with that, we'll launch that as well.
And Alex, you said missed the part when we showed the new access point. Oh yeah, so that was Shabir's answering. Never mind.
Yeah, in terms of the API, that's also a work in progress, but it's something that you are able to handle on a case-by-case basis.
And just going back to Madhouse, can we use synthesis with virtual PCs? If you mean in terms of like just like an actual virtual PC, yeah, I mean, in theory, I suppose you could. I'm not sure how you would want to be using it exactly. Do you mean as a station or as something else? So long as you install the access point. So we do also have a new method of installing the proxy on a virtual machine. And so that would be the way to do it, because a virtual station wouldn't necessarily be on the same network. And so with a virtual proxy, then that would solve that. But that's something we just recently released, and I haven't done too much playing. Common could probably answer more on that.
But for now,
yes, it's still a work in progress. So what we have is the ability to host your proxy in the cloud. You can host it on Amazon AWS. And you can connect your physical stations to that cloud proxy, and then you can take computers to remote events and still manage everything through the standard way.
Yep. Any other thoughts or questions? One thing to keep in mind, one thing to keep an eye out for is we will have some updates also to the games page, the catalog, found at games.synthesisvr.com. So that will have a refresh as well, and probably some new features and changes on that. So keep an eye out for that. And again, keep an eye out for any changes that are coming up with the software in general, which again, this interface will help transition us to. So yeah, anything else that...
Yeah, there's a lot of, as we mentioned, access point will get a big update, and there are some other major changes coming, but everything will be revealed during the right time. But yeah, we are working on a lot at the back end as well, so that will also be revealed soon. But I think the next one would be the access point, and then from there. Regarding the API update, I don't know, Kaman should be able to answer what APIs maybe you guys can email.
I think in the case it's about the booking widget. So unfortunately, there is no way to have a single design that fits everyone. That's why we have it customizable, but we are planning to have a nicer default design.
Yeah, so that is something that we have been wanting for a long time, but right now after this new whole design, we might update the existing booking widget to look the same way with the new design. So that's gonna come as well. So soon. So yeah, any other questions?
Excellent. And again, feel free to take a look at the interface, switch over. Keep in mind it's still in beta, although we've dug in a lot into it to make sure things are working. But if anything comes up, don't hesitate to reach out if you have a question. Keep an eye out for also the new knowledge base article specific to this. Overall, the functionality is very similar to the version 3 interface, so there shouldn't be any like huge changes that will stump you. There's a couple things that have moved, like in terms of, again, the billing tab being moved from the games to the actual billing, but other than that, there's not any major changes that will slow you down. Just visuals that hopefully will speed you up versus slow you down.
Yeah, and the email again is, I know if you guys are not aware of it, it's info@SynthesisVR.com for any questions. All right.
Excellent.
So nobody has any questions. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining us, and see you soon.
Bye, guys. Thanks very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.